I came across a street interview by a certain blogger. The question was, what would you say to yourself 5 years ago? In the video, Gabriel had his arm around his girlfriend, his voice calm and affectionate as he said, I hope the Gabriel from 5 years ago could have met Lila sooner. The girl in his arms blushed, covering her mouth to echo, me too. Netizens gushed over how sweet they were, flooding the comments with well wishes. No one knew that 5 years ago was the day Gabriel and I got married. Even he himself had forgotten, that is, until a week later. The same blogger posted another street interview. In the footage, I looked straight into the camera and said earnestly, if you can, Elena, don't marry Gabriel, you'll regret it. This time, Gabriel saw it. The day he agreed to a divorce was just a normal afternoon. I dialed Gabriel's number, but Lila answered. Hello? I'm looking for Gabriel. He's in the shower, whatever it is. You can tell me. Her voice was as coquettish and fearless as ever, with a faint hint of territorial pride and showing off. Once upon a time, I would have screamed, hysterically telling Lila to get lost so I could speak to Gabriel, but now, I knew only Lila could get Gabriel to come to the phone. I couldn't let her hang up like she used to, leaving me to spiral alone like a lunatic. He mentioned getting a divorce before, I said calmly. I agree. There was a second of silence on the other end before Lila repeated, disbelieving, you agree to the divorce? Yes. His deep, indifferent voice soon reached my ear, it's me. Hearing his voice sent a flicker of daze trance through me. After all, we hadn't spoken since he moved out of the villa to live with Lila 6 months ago. The last thing he'd said to me back then was, Elena, let's get a divorce. If you don't agree, I'll separate from you and file for litigation. Now, 6 months later, I caved. Lila said you want a divorce? Gabriel asked first. When I didn't respond, he must have been frowning as he spoke, his tone laced with confusion. I couldn't fathom why he was confused. Hadn't the divorce been his idea? But I didn't want to argue with him over who'd brought it up first. I hummed an affirmation. If you're free, let's meet up and sign the papers. I hung up. It was the first time I'd ended the call since finding out about his infidelity. Before, I bombarded him with calls and messages, hurling the cruelest insults and sobbing pitifully, begging him to stay. But every time, Gabriel would snap, can you stop acting like a lunatic? Talk to me when you've calmed down. Then hang up without mercy, ignoring all my subsequent calls and texts. I'd wanted to control myself, but the thought of our years together ending like this had made it impossible. I'd wanted to scream at him for betraying me, to beg him to come back so I could forgive him, but no matter how much I resented or waited, Gabriel never changed. And I'd grown increasingly insecure, becoming exactly what he called me, madwoman. I'd muddled through like that for a long time, trapped in a relationship that tore me apart until 3 days ago, I'd stumbled on a street interview by a blogger called Time Capsule. His question, what would you say to yourself 5 years ago? Some said they'd tell themselves to study harder, others, to spend more time with family. One person said their 7 years later self was amazing, that they hadn't let the past down. And then, among those answers, I saw Gabriel and his girlfriend Lila. I knew it wasn't a script. Given Gabriel's status now, even A-list celebrities had to book an appointment to meet him. This blogger, though, had seemingly stopped him at random. Like any other passerby at first, Gabriel looked annoyed by the interview. But Lila beside him, eyes shining with excitement, had tugged at his arm, pouting. This looks fun, Chang, let us play along. Gabriel, looking helpless yet indulgent, had agreed. The blogger briefly explained his project, then asked the question. Lila paused, deep in thought, and Gabriel, seeing her struggle, answered for her, if I could, I'd tell the Gabriel from 5 years ago to meet Lila first. As he spoke, he held her close, his voice cool but soft with tenderness. Lila glanced up at him in surprise, then giggled. Bashful, me too. By the time I saw the video, it already had tens of thousands of likes. Comments gushed, wow, they're so good looking, I ship it. Pure love, finally, something wholesome. So sweet. You two must be happy forever. 99. I stared at the screen, dumbfounded. Did Gabriel really like Lila that much? Had he forgotten? 5 years ago, we'd just gotten married. Those were our best days, poor, but happy beyond measure. And now, here he was, saying he wished he'd met Lila first back then. I'd expected to erupt in anger. To grab my phone and bomb his calls, screaming questions if he didn't answer, I'd have smashed everything in the villa. Roaring to let it all out, but strangely, this time, I just sat there. Motionless. The comments that should have stung, that should have set me off, scrolled by like meaningless code. Then it felt like something in my mind had been pulled out and scattered. To my surprise, I realized I felt nothing about Gabriel's behavior. Obsession can strike in a moment, and clarity can't. That's why I'd made that call earlier. Gabriel sent me a message. Amid a sea of red exclamation marks and green message bubbles, that white frame with black text stood out sharply. It seemed Gabriel had taken me off his blacklist. Amused bitterly, Gabriel asked me to go to his company the next Monday. His lawyer would have the agreement terms ready. Once both sides agreed, we could sign and wait out the divorce schooling off period. Okay. On Monday, I arrived at Gabriel's company as agreed since I had no appointment. The receptionist called to confirm. Yes, Selena. After hanging up, the receptionist told me to go to the president's floor, where a secretary would meet me. I thanked her and headed straight up. The person who greeted me was an unfamiliar young girl. I didn't recognize her. After all, I hadn't been here in 6 months. Since separating from Gabriel, she was probably new. Elena, please wait here. Gabriel is in a meeting, the girl said, not knowing me either. She led me to a side reception room. Before, I'd always waited directly in Gabriel's office. His meetings often lasted over an hour, and I hated waiting. Gabriel knew that, so he'd keep lots of books and DVDs in his office to keep me occupied. Read a book or watch a movie if he get tired. Wait for me in the lounge. He'd once told me the last time I'd come, all my things in his office had been replaced. Someone else now had free access to his private lounge now. To see him, I could only wait in a regular guest room. But I really didn't have the mood or energy to argue over such a trivial matter, so I waited quietly. Time was on my side after all. What I didn't expect was that I'd wait 2 hours with no one informing me Gabriel was available. Excuse me, has Gabriel's meeting ended? I couldn't help asking the girl who'd led me here. She hesitated. Gabriel is still in the meeting. I frowned, about to speak, when I suddenly heard laughter and chatter nearby. Then let's go to that restaurant for lunch. Okay. Those voices were all too familiar. I'd heard them on the phone just last night. Lila, holding a folder, skipped beside Gabriel. Her youthful face bright and radiant. Gabriel leaned slightly to listen to her, a faint smile deepening on his lips at whatever she said. The girl tried to stop me as I walked straight toward them, but it was too late. Gabriel, at the sound of my voice, both turned to look. I clearly saw a flash of surprise on Gabriel's face. I asked if his meeting was over. If so, it was time to talk about our business. I arrived at 10. I've been waiting 2 hours. Who told you I was in a meeting? Gabriel frowned, asking in reply unexpectedly. I froze, looking at him. The confusion in his eyes seemed genuine. We both realized what had happened almost at the same time. I said nothing. Gabriel's gaze swept the office sharply, his expression serious. Everyone ducked their heads, silent. The girl who'd led me here shrank back, bowing her head but not before glancing quickly at Lila. Of course, in this office, the only one who could bully others by taking advantage of her power like this was Lila. I forgot to tell everyone the meeting was cancelled. I didn't mean to. Gabriel, Lila pouted, looking up at him innocently. Gabriel had always indulged her. This time was no different. He said nothing. Come in, he said to me, brushing the matter's idea. As I passed Lila, I saw pride and provocation flicker in her eyes. Sit, Gabriel said, gesturing like he would to a guest once we were in his office. I looked at the sofa, which was piled with several cute stuffed toys. The bookshelf that once held books now had a snack rack. The door to the private lounge was ajar. Through the gap, I could see women's clothes casually strewn at the foot of the bed. Gabriel looked at me, his eyes unreadable. I sensed it was inappropriate and looked away. The agreement. Gabriel handed me the divorce papers from his desk. As I read, his gaze stayed on me. We've been together so many years. You sell, I'll get what you deserve. You can choose any car or house. If you have other requests, speak up. Was this compensation? The thought crossed my mind, but it didn't slow my reading. The terms Gabriel offered were more than enough to last me lifetime. She'd always been generous, never stingy with such things. No need. This is fine. Just the villa I'm living in now. Give that to me, I said, quickly, and handed the papers back to him. Gabriel seemed to have more to say. His mouth opened, then closed as I moved. He stared at my outstretched hand, as if disbelieving the whole thing had taken less than 5 minutes. I stood up. The cooling off period is 1 month. I'll contact you after that. I turned to leave. Elena, yes? Nothing else to say to me? Gabriel frowned slightly. His voice tentative, eyes filled with confusion. I looked at him, seeing he was sincere. I thought for a moment, then asked earnestly in return. At this point, you surely don't expect me to wish you and Lila a long and happy marriage and an early birth of a precious child, do you? Although I had let go, I wasn't that magnanimous. The person in front of me was left speechless. Gabriel looked at me with eyes like a deep pool, his emotions unreadable. Just as I reached for the doorknob, his voice came from behind again. Elena, after all, I've let you down. I'll take care of your mother's medical expenses until the end. Mentioning my mother, I froze. If there was anyone who least wanted me to divorce Gabriel, it must be my mother. Gabriel and I started working hard together when we were 17. During those toughest days, we shared one box of takeout, and Gabriel would pick out all the meat for me. In the cold winter, Gabriel rode a motorcycle to carry passengers and save money. He was reluctant to spend it on himself but bought me a ring, although it's just a plain ring. I'll give you a bigger and brighter diamond in the future. We used to live in a tiny basement of only a few square meters. There was no heating in winter, and we could only hug each other to keep warm. In summer, because it was too hot, Gabriel would take me to sleep in the park. My mother saw all this. She felt sorry for me and sold all her possessions to help Gabriel start his business. When Gabriel earned his first pot of gold, he bought a large flat in the city center with a constant temperature of 24 hours in front of my mother. He swore that he would be good to me for a lifetime. My mother was so moved that tears filled her eyes, and she only said one sentence. You two must be happy in the future. I once had high hopes and thought that life was promising, but in just 2 or 3 years, everything changed beyond recognition. Gabriel had an affair, and my mother got cancer. The annual treatment cost hundreds of thousands. If it weren't for Gabriel's support, I might have lost her long ago. But now, no need to trouble you. Thank you. I ended this meeting politely and distantly, opened the door, and left. As I walked out of Gabriel's company building, Lila's voice came from behind. Elena. She walked up to me in a few steps, pretentiously stroking the hair by her ear. Thank you for helping us be together and letting go of Chang. I saw the bright smile on her face and in her eyes, like a victorious winner showing off. You're welcome. I hope you won't end up like me. I smiled lightly, giving a warning as someone with experience. The smile on Lila's face changed slightly, but she quickly regained her composure. How could I be like you? You've already seen how much Chang loves me, haven't you? She reminded me. She was referring to something that happened a long time ago. At that time, Gabriel took Lila to a gathering of his friends. During the gathering, one of Gabriel's friends casually mentioned the story of Gabriel and me. One of them revealed once Brother Jin came back very late from a business trip. Elena was sleeping by the flower bed outside waiting for him and was molested by a homeless man. At that time, Lila was snuggling in Gabriel's arms. Hearing this, her delicate eyebrows knitted, and she let out a disgusted "EWWW. Isn't that dirty?" I didn't know if she was referring to me sleeping in the garden or being molested by the homeless man. Anyway, laughter rang out one after another in the private room. I was standing outside the door at that time. I originally planned to catch them in the act, but unexpectedly, I heard this conversation, and I felt like I was in hell, both cold and hot, suffering. What made me even more immobile was Gabriel's attitude at that moment. He was sitting on the sofa, loosely putting his arm around Lila amid the wanton ridicule and laughter of everyone. He smiled and remained silent, looking disdainful, as if the person they were making fun of was an irrelevant person, not me, whom he had once protected with his sincere heart. And during the final game session, Gabriel enjoyed swallowing the wine that Lila passed to him with her mouth under her coquettish command. He said the words Elena dirty. This should be one of Lila's achievements in provoking me. It was obvious that she was very satisfied with it, and the smile on her face became even deeper. I looked at her and couldn't help but remind her. Then have you forgotten what I did that day? If you can't remember, I don't mind helping you experience it again. Lila's face changed instantly. I could tell from her reaction that she hadn't forgotten that night. I stormed into the private room in a rage. I pulled Lila off Gabriel. Before anyone could react, I slapped Lila twice. Then I grabbed her and pinned her down on the wine-holding coffee table. Stop your fucking laughing. Is it really that funny? Do you know what happened to that homeless man later? Furious, I smashed a wine bottle. Amid the shattering sound, Lila let out a loud scream. I held the sharp end above her cheek, letting her tremble with fear under my control. Just like today, I stabbed him until he was disabled. Sister-in-law Elena. The people in the private room didn't dare to breathe in the end. It was Gabriel who stopped me. He suddenly stopped me and threw me aside. Lila cowered behind him, her face deathly pale. Looking weak and innocent. Chang. Save me, fury brewed in Gabriel's eyes. He raised his hand about to strike. But when he met my scarlet and resentful gaze, he stopped abruptly. Elena. Gabriel, you don't dare to hit me. Do you? I dared. In the moment Gabriel was stunned, I directly raised my hand and slapped him across the face. I used almost all my strength. Because after that, my hand couldn't stop shaking. That was the beginning of my breakup with Gabriel. After that day, Gabriel proposed divorce to me and moved out of our home, living with Lila. Lila didn't dare to provoke me. After all, I could be really crazy when I lost my temper. She gave me an angry glare. Let's see if you can still be so arrogant after Cheng divorces you. I retorted. That's none of your business. Then I turned and left. After returning home, I started packing my things. Although I got this house, I didn't plan to live in it for long. Recalling the years Gabriel and I had been tormenting each other, I had been deeply immersed in it. Now, seeing everything in this house only made me feel that everything had become even more unrecognizable. I listed the house for sale at the fastest speed and began to buy plane tickets. After all, since Gabriel had given me so much money, I should spend it well. I decided to go out to relax first and come back when it was time to get the divorce certificate. The day before I left, I received a new message. Hello, Elena. I'm the blogger time capsule. Your street interview video will be released at 7 p.m. on Sunday. I'm confirming one last time. Are you really okay with it? Seeing this message, I wasn't surprised. You might not believe it. The day after I saw the video of Gabriel and Lila, I was wandering aimlessly on the street unexpectedly. I was stopped for a street interview as a passerby. It was the same blogger and the same interview question at that time. I thought it was extremely ridiculous. But it was also amazing how wonderful this coincidence was. I didn't refuse the interview even as I gave my answer. I couldn't help but wonder what kind of mood Gabriel would be in if he saw this video of mine. No problem. You can do as you like, I replied at the same time. I packed my last item and left with a swagger. It had been half a year since Gabriel and Elena separated, and this was the first time he received a call from her. He thought she was going to pester and curse him unreasonably as before. But to his surprise, Elena's tone was unusually calm, completely different from her previous overbearing self. I agreed to the divorce. She told him. Gabriel instinctively frowned. His first reaction was, what divorce? Seeing that he didn't react, Lila beside him quietly reminded him. Only then did Gabriel remember what he had said to Elena when he moved out half a year ago. Are you sure? Yes. If you're free, let's meet and sign the divorce agreement. Elena hung up the phone right after she finished speaking. His doubts deepened. But before he could figure out the answer, Lila reached out and put her arms around his neck. Just now your wife said she agreed to the divorce. Is it true? Yeah, that's great. Now no one will pester you anymore. Lila was even happier than him. Excitedly moving closer to him. In the past, the young and passionate Lila would have easily aroused his desire. But now, Gabriel couldn't feel happy. He had never really thought about divorcing Elena. What he said back then was just to scare her. Why did Elena suddenly give in? Gabriel was completely puzzled, but soon he thought, could this be another scheme of Elena's? She was like this. She could say all kinds of things to trick him into going back. Once, he even received a message from Elena saying that her mother was seriously ill. He ignored it. After all, a child who cried wolf wouldn't deceive the villagers. For the third time Gabriel was determined that Elena was lying to him. But then he thought that he hadn't seen Elena for half a year. Well, since Elena had called, he might as well take this opportunity to see her. Gabriel asked the lawyer to draw up the divorce agreement and sent a message to Elena asking her to come to the company to sign it on Monday. There was a small thing in between. When Gabriel was about to send the message, he realized that he had blocked Elena. Their chat history was still from a few months ago. At that time, Elena had caught him and Lila doing something he couldn't even remember what it was anyway. Elena went crazy and made a big scene at home. He couldn't stand it anymore, so he moved out, but Elena didn't stop. She sent him messages and long texts every day, harassing and questioning him. She was like a crazy woman once. Elena sent another message. But before she could finish, Gabriel got annoyed and blocked her. After unblocking Elena, Gabriel was really worried that she would be the same as before. But this time, she only replied with a "Find this strange." Could she really have changed? After these 2 times, Gabriel found it incredibly strange, but he also felt a bit emotional. Alas! If only Elena could always be so well behaved and not make a fuss. He and Elena had gone through both good and bad times. They had built everything from scratch together, so their relationship was naturally extraordinary. But Elena was really too selfish and possessive. Since his business became successful, Elena seemed to be possessed. She didn't allow any woman to be around him. Was that possible? He was now a well-known businessman. There was no way to avoid socializing. At first, he did firmly reject those women, but as time passed, he found that everyone was like this. He had just made a mistake that all men in the world might make. And he was even better than some of them because he only had one mistress, which was Lila. It was Elena's unrelenting attitude that pushed him further and further away, eventually forcing him to propose divorce. If Elena could turn a blind eye, they wouldn't have ended up like this, Gabriel thought to himself. After all, he and Elena had been together for more than 10 years. Back then, they shared one box of takeout. She lied that she wasn't hungry so that he could eat more. The basement in summer was like a sweltering furnace, making it hard to sleep. Elena and him with cool air all night. Later, she even secretly sold the ring he bought for her to buy a small electric fan. He and Elena actually had a lot of sweet and shared memories. Gabriel couldn't bear to let them go, and he was more convinced that Elena couldn't let go of these things either. So, he was very certain that this time Elena's request to meet for divorce must be some kind of trick of hers. How could she be willing to divorce? Gabriel didn't believe it, not until Monday, when he saw Elena. Did he realize that what she said about agreeing to the divorce was true? Elena called out his name. At that time he turned his head, and the first thought that came to him was, how could she have become so thin in just half a year? On Elena's face, which used to have a bit of baby fat, the jawbone was now clearly visible. The collarbones on her neck made her figure look even more slender. Hadn't she been eating well? Gabriel frowned with worry, and a tinge of heartache involuntarily emerged. But before he could ask, Elena said she had been waiting for him to finish a meeting for 2 hours. He hadn't been in a meeting at all, but he knew who had told Elena that his first thought wasn't to scold Lila. Instead, he wanted to take a good look at Elena. He hadn't seen her for half a year, even though Elena had been pestering him and consuming their relationship over and over again. Gabriel still found that the person he loved the most was still her. This kind of love was different from his feelings for Lila. His feelings for Lila were based on the influence of her young body and hormones, but for Elena, his love and heartache came from the depths of his soul. We've been together for so many years. I won't shortchange you. You can choose any car or house you like. If you have any other requests, you can bring them up. Taking advantage of the time when Elena was looking at the divorce agreement, Gabriel's eyes were fixed on her. He wanted to take a good look at her. By saying he could meet Elena's other requests, he actually hoped that Elena's other request would be not to divorce, but to his surprise, Elena only asked for the house they used to live in. The whole process ended in less than 5 minutes. It couldn't be true. How could she really divorce him without any other actions? She should have something more to say to him. Gabriel stared at her, but until Elena left, she didn't leave him a single extra word. Was it really over between him and Elena? Gabriel couldn't believe it. He didn't hand the divorce agreement to the lawyer for a long time. That night, Lila made a candle-lit dinner to celebrate this. Looking at Lila's smiling face, he only felt extremely annoyed and cold-hearted. Chang. When are we going to get married? Lila asked him with a smile, propping her chin. Before he could answer, Lila had already started daydreaming about the wedding on her own. I want to wear the most beautiful wedding dress, and the auditorium must be filled with flowers. He looked at Lila's sparkling eyes in the candlelight. What came to his mind was the way he and Elena got married that year at that time, in the early stage of their business. They were really poor. After Elena sold the ring, she didn't have any jewelry left. They just spent a few yuan to get their marriage certificate. In the evening, they happily bought 2 bottles of beer and sat by the river, singing and drinking at that time. He thought that when he got rich, he must make up a big and luxurious wedding for Elena, but later, he never did. They only took a set of small wedding photos. He even took half an hour off from work to take them. Let's talk about it later. He suddenly lost interest and interrupted Lila. Lila's expression froze, and her smile gradually disappeared as she stared at him. Gabriel felt annoyed and called his friends out for a drink. Brother Jane, why didn't you bring the little sister-in-law out? Someone asked in confusion. Since there was Elena at home, they called Lila the little sister-in-law. Gabriel didn't want to answer. One person came up to him and said with a smile, Brother Jane, look what I've come across. It's you and the little sister-in-law. You're trending. In his hazy vision, Gabriel saw the video of himself and Lila on the phone in front of him. I hope Gabriel from 5 years ago could have met Lila earlier, he said, putting his arm around Lila in the video. What nonsense. 5 years ago was the happy day when he and Elena got married. He and Elena had a great relationship. How could he have hoped to meet Lila? Gabriel quickly remembered. This was a street interview they encountered when he took Lila out for a stroll one day. He just said it casually, but this video already had over 100,000 likes and topped the local hot list. If that was the case, wouldn't Elena see it? No, he couldn't let Elena see it. Elena would be angry if she saw it. Gabriel trembled and tried to snatch the other person's phone. Who posted this? Tell him to take it down right away. Hurry up. Everyone was startled by Gabriel's angry roar. The person who showed him the video nervously went to contact the poster immediately, but as soon as he opened the person's homepage, he froze. Brother Jane, he posted another one. The voice added uneasily and cautiously. It's about sister-in-law. After I came back, I found out that my video had gone viral. The blogger Time Capsule sent me a message, saying that he didn't expect it to have such a large amount of traffic and impact while thanking me. He also hoped to interview me again. I didn't reply to him. When I opened my phone, I happened to see the repost by a marketing account. Those who betray true feelings should swallow 1,000 needles. Oh my God. When will the 30 seconds in the library drama end? The marketing account's characteristic voice vividly described the whole story. At 7 p. last Sunday, the blogger Time Capsule released his latest street interview video. On the busy street, the blogger randomly stopped a passerby for an interview. Miss, if you had the chance to talk to yourself 5 years ago, what would you say to yourself 5 years ago? In the video, I, being treated as a passerby, looked straight into the camera and said inferently, if I had the chance, I would tell myself 5 years ago, Elena, don't marry Gabriel, you'll regret it. As soon as the video was released, it immediately sparked a heated discussion among netizens. Gabriel? Why does this name sound so familiar? I think so too. It seems like I've heard it somewhere. Have you forgotten? The couple the blogger interviewed last time. The man seemed to be called this name. Fuck. Could it be the same person? There's a scoop. After a short moment of confusion, netizens who smelled the gossip, with their sharp sense, dug out the relationship between me and Gabriel. After confirming that the Gabriel I mentioned was the same one who said to himself 5 years ago that he hoped to meet Lila earlier, netizens were instantly in an uproar. Damn. It's really the same person. This is so dramatic. Jesus. I thought they were a loving couple. But it turns out the guy is a cheating scumbag with his mistress. Hope to meet earlier. Why don't you just go die? Did you even think about your wife when you said that? The girl is so pitiful. She really got the short end of the stick. Now, the comments under the video were full of condemnation and abuse towards the two of them. As for me, Although it wasn't that extreme, my phone was bombarded with messages and calls besides those who wanted to get close to the gossip and find out the truth. There were also calls from some mutual friends of Gabriel and me. I ignored them all, but the only thing that surprised me was that among these floods of messages and calls, there was no sign of Gabriel. It was really strange. I had set him up, and yet he didn't do anything. I found it unbelievable until I received a call from the real estate agent. Elena, there's a problem with the sale of your house, could you come back and deal with it? With puzzlement, I bought a ticket back. As soon as I got off the car, I saw the agent who had called me a few days ago. When he saw me coming back, he looked at me like I was his savior. Elena, you're finally back as your husband. When he heard you were going to sell this house, he flat out refused. The agent briefly told me the situation. I was so angry that I laughed. So that's why Gabriel was keeping quiet. He was waiting for me here. I'll handle it. After seeing the real estate agent off, I called Gabriel. He didn't answer, so I simply went straight to his company, and like last time, this time the receptionist didn't even ask and directly invited me upstairs. And the young girl who had received me before was now being extremely respectful, leading me to Gabriel's office door. Gabriel is waiting for you inside. I glanced at her, not really looking at her. Instead, my gaze passed over her to Lila in the corner. It seemed she had been demoted. I remembered that the previous times I came, her desk was the one closest to Gabriel's office. Lila saw me, and she couldn't hide the hatred and anger in her eyes. If looks could kill, I had no doubt she would burn holes all over me. I ignored her and pushed the door open. The moment I saw the layout of the office, I felt a bit dazed. All traces of Lila had been removed. It suddenly seemed to go back to the way it was at the beginning. Gabriel was sitting in the boss's chair behind the desk. Against the huge floor-to-ceiling window, his thin figure looked a bit tired and dejected, especially lonely. Well, it was no wonder, because of the hot search incident during this period, the stock price of Gabriel's company had been affected and dropped several points. He would be strange if he wasn't worried. But what did that have to do with me? If I remember correctly, you promised this house to me, I said as I walked straight up to Gabriel and asked, hearing my voice. Gabriel looked up, his gaze intense. Elena, what does regret mean? He answered irrelevant lie. Which left me completely confused, but soon, I realized what he was referring to. He should be asking about what I said in that video. When the blogger asked me, what would you say to yourself 5 years ago? My answer was, having fulfilled my obsession. Elena, don't marry Gabriel, you, LL regret it. And 5 years ago, when Gabriel and I got our marriage certificate, he cheerfully asked me with red-rimmed eyes, Elena, you'll have a hard life marrying me. Will you regret it? At that time, my answer was, no. Now Gabriel actually asked me what regret meant. Don't you understand? I couldn't help but find it ridiculous and calmly asked in return. As if stung by the sarcasm on my face, Gabriel's face turned deathly pale. He got up from the chair and walked towards me. Each step seemed a bit difficult. But I've never regretted it. Elena. I've never regretted marrying you. How can you regret it? You said before that you wouldn't regret it. Right? His eyes were red like they were 5 years ago, but this time, I wouldn't soften my heart. You also said that was in the past. People change, don't they? Gabriel was the one who taught me this. Now that the boomerang was hitting him, why couldn't Gabriel accept it? Gabriel looked at me with hurt eyes. He seemed to be looking for something in my eyes. Not finding it, he shifted his eyes away, trembling, and then asked me, Elena, you did all this because you're still angry, right? You still have me in your heart. So you deliberately said those things. You still love me, right? He asked to right. In a row, eagerly observing the expression on my face, but I was very calm. I even frowned when I heard his questions. Love? What is that? We were already two people who had signed the divorce agreement. How could there still be love? Oh, I used to love Gabriel, but didn't he lose it himself? There was mockery in my eyes. I didn't. Elena, I didn't. I love you. The words about divorce were just out of anger. I never thought about divorcing you, Gabriel argued loudly. He suddenly hugged me tightly. Repeating this over and over again, he wanted to get a response from me after all. every hug between us used to be so strong. That since Gabriel got together with Lila, I couldn't remember when the last time I hugged Gabriel was. Gabriel didn't get a response from me. When he let go, he only saw my cold eyes and expression. Gabriel started to panic. His hands holding my shoulders were trembling and sweating. Elena, you can't divorce me. If you dare to divorce me, you won't get a single cent. And your mother? I won't give the hospital another penny. Gabriel threatened. He seemed fierce and cold, but still couldn't hide the trembling and panic in his tone and voice. I looked up, calmly and coldly staring straight into his eyes. Gabriel, you still don't know, do you? My mother has passed away. During the time we were separated. I sent him a message before I could say anything. He blocked me. Gabriel, your words can't threaten me at all. If I cared about money, I wouldn't have been with you without hesitation when you had nothing. But I'm still filled with hatred. He forgot about our relationship and also the mother-like care my mother had shown him. Gabriel not only let me down, but he also let my mother down. The office was deathly silent. I watched as Gabriel's already pale face gradually turned ashen. The emotions in his eyes seemed to be frozen. Shock, astonishment, disbelief. All kinds of complex emotions were mixed in his eyes. How could it be? He murmured. I reminded him, you haven't visited her for 2 years, so naturally you wouldn't know. It was pitiful that my mother was still muttering about me when she was dying. All I could do was hold back my tears and comfort her with lies, telling her that Gabriel was busy with work and would come to see her when he was done. My mother's death wasn't an accident. It was just that her life force had run out. And there was no way to save her. I personally signed the form to give up treatment, held her hand as she quietly fell into a sleep from which she never woke up. I calmly handled her funeral affairs alone. After that, I unexpectedly saw the video of Gabriel and Lila. I had always wanted to divorce Gabriel. I didn't want to watch myself turn into a crazy person wrapped in a relationship. And my mother's death was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Gabriel, how could you know that from the day you made a mistake and refused to turn back? Our relationship had already entered a countdown. Gabriel's body swayed violently. He took 2 steps back and almost couldn't stand. Looking at him, I couldn't help but remind him, if you have a conscience, just let me go. Being with you now makes me feel suffocated every minute and every second. I left Gabriel's office. This conversation wasn't pleasant at all. It seemed that the atmosphere had seeped out through the cracks. When I came out, everyone held their breath, wishing they could bury themselves in a crack in the ground. The only one who dared to make a move was Lila. She couldn't hold back her anger, quickly followed me, and caught up with me. Elena, you bitch. Are you satisfied now? What good does it do you to ruin Chang? She questioned me, her tone full of unwillingness and a sense of defending him. Hearing her voice, I just found it annoying, so I slapped her across the face with a pop. You fool. If you had any ability at all to make him divorce me earlier, he wouldn't have ended up with the reputation of being an adulterer and a scumbag, I sneered. Lila covered her face. I reminded her, also, be polite to me. After all, I haven't divorced Gabriel yet. Be careful. I asked Gabriel to give back the money he spent on you. He wouldn't. In this situation. Do you want to give it a try? I was determined to piss her off. Lila was furious, but dared not say anything. She could only glare at me hatefully as I walked away. Without Gabriel's interference, my house was sold quickly. Coincidentally, the day I sold the house was exactly the day when the divorce cooling off period between Gabriel and me ended. After separating from Gabriel that day, I thought he would play some tricks and refuse to divorce unexpectedly. He actually showed up at the Civil Affairs Bureau. We got the divorce certificate smoothly. After that, I rushed to the villa to sign the house selling contract without delay. Since 2 things went smoothly in a row, I finally felt relieved. But as soon as I left, the real estate agent called me again. Elena, although it's a bit unethical, I still want to tell you something. What? Your husband. Oh no. Your ex-husband came right after you left. He grabbed the client who just bought your house and desperately begged them to resell the house to him. The client refused. Gabriel is still pestering them now. I felt annoyed and rushed back to the villa just in time. I saw Gabriel snatching something from the cleaner. The client who had just signed the contract was already gone. The agent said regretfully, Elena. You're late. Your husband was willing to pay 3 times the price to buy it back. Forget it. Anyway, the house wasn't mine anymore. It was a case of one willing to offer and the other willing to accept. I didn't want to get involved in this matter. But at that moment, I clearly saw what Gabriel had snatched back from the cleaner. It was the wedding photo we had taken as a supplement. Gabriel. Elena. Gabriel's eyes lit up when he saw me. Look, I bought the house back. I'll get all these things back, he said, showing me eagerly. But before he could finish, the car key in my hand had already scratched the wedding photo behind him with a squeal. I tore my photo off. Gabriel's eyes widened in astonishment, his face turning pale. He looked at me with sadness and grief, and tears suddenly fell from his eyes. I looked at him inferently. Through the floor-to-ceiling window of the villa, I saw the scene reflected on the glass. I suddenly felt it was very familiar. Of course it was familiar. Once upon a time, I was the one who humbly begged Gabriel to turn back, and now it was truly the cycle of fate, and retribution was inevitable. Don't be so self-indulgent, Gabriel. You just make me feel extremely disgusted. Are you annoying? After that day, my life returned to normal, although I was alone. Breaking free from the past was like the dark clouds above my head dispersing in an instant, and the moon emerged from behind the clouds. Every day was sunny. A week later, I saw Gabriel again. It was at a bar. After the divorce, he got drunk day and night. And our mutual friends kept sending messages and making calls to me, trying to reconcile us. I blocked every single one of them finally. The world became quiet during that accidental encounter. Gabriel was drinking again suddenly. Lila showed up, Lei Chang. She quickly supported the drunk Gabriel. I've been looking for you for so long. Where have you been? Woo woo woo, woo wow. I was so scared, you know? Lila was crying and sniveling. Don't do this for that woman anymore. It's not worth it. Lei Chang. Let's go back, you still have me. Get out. Gabriel forcefully shook off Lila. She's my wife. I only want her. Do you think I want a mistress like you? It was unclear which word had irritated Lila. She froze in place, looking utterly disbelieving. This was the last time I saw the two of them. After that, I heard that Lila had been fired by Gabriel. Moreover, Gabriel had retrieved every penny he had spent on Lila. Lila never expected Gabriel to be so heartless and finally left in resentment. But 3 months later, I received a call from the police, asking me to identify a body. They said that there had been a homicide in the villa. I had sold the victims were my ex-husband and Lila. Gabriel had no parents, and the only person closely connected to him in the world was me. Upon hearing this news, I felt a bit of sadness and sigh. Nevertheless, I still showed up and handled his funeral arrangements. Subsequently, I scattered his ashes into the mountains and the sea. He disappeared without a trace.